Affairs don't begin in the bedroom, they begin in childhood. In the part of you that decided she needed to bury her truth just to be loved. The part that's now screaming to be seen. I'm Alex Croxford, and this is the Deeper Love Podcast, where we name the shame, face the guilt, and help you find your way back to yourself. So let's begin. So many women talk about, after the end of their affair, how much they miss their affair partner and feel this crazy pull towards contacting them again, even when they're trying to repair their primary relationship. They say, I still miss him, but I hate that I miss him. You know, he can't give me what I know that I want. I don't understand why I can't let this go. And I see this time and time again. But I want to introduce the idea that what if your grieving isn't actually about him? Perhaps what you miss is actually the way that you felt seen, the way that you felt wanted or desired, the way that you felt playful and less responsible and awake and alive and free and not being the one that everybody relies on. You're not having to be the version of yourself that is managing everybody else's feelings or being there for everybody else all of the time. Because that grief for that is real. That feels like something you're never going to get back without that person. And when a woman says that she misses her affair partner, she very rarely describes to me anything about him. It's never, oh, he was so kind and had such a great sense of humor and he did this for me and he was really interested in this and this and this. What she is nearly always describing to me is how she felt in his presence. And the good news is that that version of her didn't just appear out of nowhere. She was already inside of you. There was nothing that he or she, your affair partner, did to create this version. They're not responsible for it. But what they did do is they unlocked something. And another way of putting it is they were holding up a mirror to a part of you that you have buried or has been buried under years of obligation, of needing to be the good wife, the one that puts everybody else's emotions first. That affair partner almost opened a little tiny door to a part of you that felt maybe something that you've never felt or that you haven't felt for 10, 20, 30 years. And that is why it hurts so much when it ends. Because it can feel like that version, she disappears with him. And that's where the longing comes from. That's where this desperate want for them comes back. And, you know, it can happen in normal relationships too. In the end of our marriages, in the end of relationships, perhaps post our affair, we can feel this desperate longing and this desperate want to be with this person. And, I'm not denying that love is a real thing, but really and truly, our partners are mirrors. And sometimes they're mirrors to our deepest wounds, very often, by the way. Other times they can mirror back to us parts of us that feel incredible. So very often I see, both with my women and with myself, there are normally two identities that women are living split between. There is the good, responsible woman, the one who, gets her kids to school on time. She's holding down a job. She's keeping the house neat and tidy. She's being supportive for her husband, who's probably working all the hours of the day, being supportive and happy when they decide to add more triathlons onto their training plan, or whatever it is. The good wife, the good, responsible woman who is doing everything that society told her to do, with the house and the job and the husband and the car and keeping her body in shape and all those other things, right? On the flip side, we have the woman who felt free and desired and expressive and alive and awake and liberated and sexual, and it was like everything suddenly went from black and white and into color. But the most important thing to know is that the affair did not create the second woman. But what it did do is it revealed there is a split between them. And how we get to that point is really and truly, and you'll have heard me talk about this before, but this is the crux of it all, is years of self-betrayal eventually leaves a woman feeling very, very flat. And when I say self-betrayal, another word we could use is self-abandonment. And that really comes from years of not asking for more, or asking for more and it never being quite met, but we stay anyway. Or not saying when something really hurt us, not speaking our truth about how hard we're finding it, that they are perhaps dedicating so much of their life to work and to extracurricular activities, and you feel like you are at the bottom of the priority pile. Or perhaps it's through years of being the strong one, the one that doesn't need anyone. I'm the strong, independent woman. We are conditioned by living in the West to be a strong, independent woman. That is the most important thing. We shouldn't need anybody. And if we do need somebody, then in some way that is weakness. But actually, that really depletes a woman's life force, constantly having to be strong. We need men. We need people. We need support around us. Because otherwise we exhaust ourselves, and an exhausted woman is a dead woman inside. Or it can also show up in ways such as not needing or not admitting that you need things. So, for example, with my ex-husband, he was somebody who worked a very far away from our house. He worked an hour and a half away from our house. And he also was training studying to be an accountant. And his whole priority was work and studying. Now, we've worked through this in couples therapy, and he really thought he was doing the best thing for us both in that. And in many ways, maybe he was, but I didn't think that I could ask him for more. I thought that I had to let him do what he needed to do, and I just had to stay quiet and let him get on with it until he'd got through the hard stuff. But inside, I needed him. I needed his time. I needed his affection. I needed more. But I was terrified of asking for that because I felt like I was being too much and I was being too needy. But the truth is, we are needy. It's okay to be needy. It's okay to have needs. But when that's been your life for a long time, when you have been the one that has been strong, has been pushing herself really hard to be there for everybody else, who's exhausted, who is trying to run around being the best that she can, but at the same time feeling guilty that she's not doing anything well enough, then anything that enters your world that lets you drop that mask will feel absolutely intoxicating. Because an intensity has entered a life that has felt like it was just full of practicalities and obligations and needing to be somebody for everybody else. So, of course, it felt like seeing the sun again after 30 rainy grays of days of January, you know? Everything feels electric, feels like you want to wind down the window of your car and sing at the top of your voice because everything feels so freaking good. But intensity, first of all, cannot last. It is based in fantasy. And that level of intensity and that level of fantasy is not sustainable in real life. And it's really not ever going to be met in a way that you can continue to be at that level for the rest of your life. And the truth is that so many women have so much shame around the fact that they really miss their affair partner or they miss that version of them because they want to make it work with their husband. They want to stay with their family. They don't want to destroy their lives. They still have love for their husband. And they cannot figure out how to deal with both. The fact that I want to stay with my husband and I want to make this work and I'm trying to make this work for my family. And yet, what happened over here, I can't forget about it. And I feel ashamed of that. I feel ashamed that I'm still desiring that person or desiring that version of myself. Ashamed that I can't seem to resist the urge, or I'm fighting with myself every single day, even though I know they're not good for me. This will not go anywhere healthy, and yet I can't stop it. What's wrong with me? And so many of these women as well are intelligent, emotionally aware women. But missing that version of you does not mean that you are a bad person that wants to hurt anyone again. But what it does mean is there is a part of you that hasn't been integrated. And so it's not that we need to exile that woman or make her so bad that we push her away because she was the one that reached out to have an affair. Instead, it's actually about bringing that part of you home, about accepting that part of you. And if that feels so far away right now, I get that. There were moments where I was like, are you kidding, Alex? I hate the version of me that did that. But that version of me that did that was seeking a lifeline. She was desperate to be able to breathe again and to feel something again. And so, really and truly, when we're stuck in this experience of longing for someone that we know we shouldn't be longing for, or we can't let go of someone, really, the question isn't how do I get him back or how can I make this work? It's where did I stop being that woman in my everyday life? Where did I silence myself? Where did I shrink? Where did I become the easy one? The one that didn't ask for anything? Where did I put everybody else's emotional or physical needs above my own? Because if that's where the split began, then that's also where the healing begins. And that's where we get to start to become a version of us that can put ourselves first, that doesn't feel guilty for having needs, that knows that she can trust her intuition and her inner voice, that knows that she's not a terrible person and she didn't do this because she was trying to hurt anyone. Because the woman you became in the affair was not someone or something or a problem that you need to eliminate or get rid of. In fact, what she is a signal, an alarm bell, and evidence that there is something in your life that has been missing. And so you are absolutely not crazy for still missing it. And it doesn't make you bad or immoral for feeling pulled back. And the most important thing is just because you're longing for that doesn't mean that you want to destroy your life again. In fact, all it is showing you is that there is something inside you that is still split between the woman that you present to the world and the woman who you really are and you long to be. And so the work and how you will be able to reach that version of you isn't through chasing intense experiences, such as another affair. And it doesn't mean that you have to leave your current partner and go and find somebody else that's going to be able to bring that version out of you again. It's also not going to come through self-punishment, through constantly telling yourself that you're the problem and that you don't deserve to be loved, you don't deserve to feel good. And it's also not in completely pretending that that version of you never existed by pushing her away and shoving her into a corner. In fact, the work is bringing that woman home again, letting her exist in daylight. And I don't mean telling everybody about your affair. I mean letting this woman who wants to play, who wants to be seen, who wants to feel alive, who wants to be able to appreciate the small things in life rather than be weighed down by everything. She wants to be seen in daylight. And letting her speak her truth without having to live in a cloak of secrets all the time. And yes, part of affair healing is absolutely taking self-responsibility. At the end of the day, there has been an action taken in your life which has caused harm. We cannot get away from that. But in order to be able to access a sense of aliveness and freedom in your day-to-day life, just wearing the responsibility is not going to get you there. Absolutely, repair matters. We have to repair what we have done. That is important. But repair doesn't mean completely erasing yourself. I know what it feels like when you just want to hide under a rock and never want to see anybody again because of the shame of what you've done. But really and truly, that part of you that you want to hide wants to come out of the shadows. And you're not trying to resurrect the affair. You're not trying to recreate that crazy intensity again. But what you are trying to do is to become whole. To bring these parts of you, the responsible one, the responsible mother, the responsible woman, and the one that wants to feel like she is living in a sense of aliveness and freedom and a life that feels like it's in colour. But wholeness is quieter than intensity. But it is far more powerful. This is the work that I do inside the Healed Heart. We are helping you to integrate the woman you met so she doesn't need secrecy, chaos, and intensity to exist. And so, to close this episode, I just want to leave you with one thing. You are not missing him. You are missing yourself. And that is something you can reclaim. Thank you for listening to the Deeper Love podcast. If today's episode spoke to you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you're ready to go deeper, you'll find all the ways to work with me in the show notes. Until next time.